the chat, and in a couple of seconds, we're going to give everyone a fun question to answer. We would like you all to answer the question by typing in the chat, but please wait to press send until we say so, because we're all going to send our answers at the same time. So the question is, how do you currently search for jobs? And again, please wait to press send until everyone has had a chance to answer. I'll give everyone about 15 seconds or so.
What was the question?
So I'll read out the question again. It is, how do you currently search for jobs? Give everyone a couple more seconds. Okay, I am going to count down from 3, and we're all going to send our answers at the same time. So 3, 2, 1, and send your answer. Wow, so many. I see Indeed, LinkedIn, Kijiji, in person, AC Hire. I love that one. Well, thank you everyone for sharing your answer. We are joined today by a special member of the Algonquin College executive team, Laura Stanbra, Vice President, Student Services, who will be selecting 2 students who participated at random. Vice President Laura Stanbra, may you please introduce yourself and announce who the 2 lucky students are?
Well, hi, good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many people on the Zoom call. Excellent. I have no doubt that given that it's still relatively early on a Monday morning, that if you're already looking into a subject like this, you're going to be successful in your job search. So congratulations. I do just want to take a moment too, though, before I announce the 2 winners, just to say welcome. I know there's some new and returning students here in our virtual meeting room today, so I just want to recognize it's going to be a little bit of a different semester than we all had hoped for, but things like this help us connect and stay involved and get to know each other a little bit better. I do also want to thank you for choosing Algonquin. We know you have a lot of choice out there, particularly as pretty much everyone's offering academics in a virtual mode. So I just want to thank you for that. And also just to really remind you that there'll be times where you'll feel out of your comfort zone. And actually, I felt that way. I joined Algonquin about 10 years ago, and I still remember it really well. I actually came from a very large university, and it was still a leap of faith for me to come over, and I was out of my comfort zone, but I really quickly realized that there was a lot of support, not only for employees but definitely for students, and I hope that if you're new, you're going to realize very quickly as well that there's so many people here to help you through your journey with us, and we really want to encourage you, don't hesitate, reach out if you have any type of questions or need any type of support. That's what we're here for. So please go ahead and reach out. Just on a personal note for me, I look forward to not only watching your journey as you progress, but also supporting you in any way I can. And with that, I know you're wanting to get back to the program and find out more about job search, but let me see if I can go here and pick 2 folks who have won. Am I supposed to? I just want to make sure. Do I get to pick before and can I just pick anyone, or should be someone who's responded? So I just want to make sure I'm doing this according to the rules.
You've got it, Laura. So you're going to go through the chat and pick 2 names of students who answered our fun question this morning.
Okay, so I see Shu Liu, Liu is the last name, and the response was Job Bank. And let's see if I can pronounce this. It'll be Oleksan, Oleksa, Alexander Stoliov. So those would be my 2 choices. The last name is Stoilov. So congratulations to you both, and to everyone. Again, thanks for participating and have a great semester.
Thank you so much, Laura, and congratulations to the two winners. I will private message you both during this event to get your contact information and make sure we get you those gift cards. And we do have more giveaways going on all day on the Algonquin College Student Services social media pages. So be sure to give them a follow and check out the ways you can win. We would now like to welcome my colleagues and friends, Jessica and Lindsay, who are employment officers from the Employment Support Center. Jessica and Lindsay will be leading the top 5 tips to get job ready information session. Jessica and Lindsay, over to you.
Thanks so much, Leanne. All right, we're just going to share the screen here so we can go through those tips with you. So welcome. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is amazing. We've got 94 participants right now, and we're just excited to be here and impart some knowledge for you on this kind of topic that is probably something that's on your minds at the start of the school year. So we wanted to break down some really practical tips to help you get job ready. Just a couple of pointers this morning. So we're going to learn specifically about the services that are offered through the Employment Support Center. Familiarizing yourself with these services early on in your journey, whether you're a new student or a returning student, but just learning about this service is really, really, really important for your journey. So we're going to talk about what kind of benefits and advantages that you have just accessing this, this service. Understanding what it means to be job ready and the steps to be taken to get there. So we're going to go through step by step in really digestible tips for you in order for you to learn exactly what you need to do to start getting job ready today. And then of course, at the end of our presentation, we'll welcome more questions in addition to the questions that we'll respond to throughout the presentation. So as mentioned, feel free to use the chat, whether you're streaming live on YouTube or you're on Zoom today, use the chat function and we will get to those questions throughout the presentation. And as mentioned earlier, please feel free to turn on your videos so that we can get to know you a little bit more and make it feel as in-person as we possibly can. All right, so starting with some of our services and resources. Where can you access support for employment? So even before we talk about tips today, the Employment Support Center provides in-person support, online resources to help you as a student and a graduate prepare for your career success. So if you're looking to locate us, physically, we are in the Student Commons building, but right now we're offering all of our services online via Zoom. So similar to today, our hours are actually 8:30 till 4:45, Monday to Friday. So you would contact the Welcome Center and book an appointment. So just to introduce you to your employment officers, my name is Lindsay and this is my colleague Jess, and we're going to go into just a little bit of our backgrounds before we get started on anything else today, just so you have a sense of who we are. And hopefully we get to know you guys a little bit better as the presentation unfolds as well. So as mentioned, my name's Lindsay. Growing up, I kind of always knew that I wanted to help people, whether it was through teaching or through counseling. So this led me to university where I got a degree in psychology. After I completed my degree in psych, I decided to go back to school and do a master's in education, specifically with a concentration in counseling. So it was shortly after I completed this program that I really realized that I wanted to help people through sort of important transitions in their lives. And for me, that transition was really the transition from school to work or to finding a career. So overall, I have 7 years of experience in community employment counseling, where I served individuals with many different needs. And then over the last 4 years, I've had the pleasure of working with Algonquin students and grads as an employment officer here at the college. So when I'm not writing resumes or prepping people for interviews, I'm just hanging out with my 3-legged dog.
My name is Jessica Andrews. I have a similar background to Lindsay. Growing up, I knew I wanted to be in a helping career. And so I also did a bachelor's degree in psychology. But while I was in my degree, I visited the Career Services Center a lot, and I fell in love with that kind of helping career. But it actually took me a while to get into it. Whenever I graduated, I worked in social services for a few years. I actually worked in banking for a couple of years, where I was able to build up my transferable skills, all the while applying to get onto Algonquin College. And then finally, I decided to do a grad certificate in career development. And that helped me get my foot in the door. And I've been working at Algonquin ever since, over the last 4 years in both co-op and employment. And I've been very excited and happy to do this kind of work, helping people with their career development, helping them to reach their career goals. And I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you guys to help you with your career journeys here at Algonquin. And when I'm not doing, like Lindsay said, resume writing or interview prep, I am hanging out with my chubby cat Mavis, watching movies and reading at home.
So we do offer quite a number of different services. So it's not just about resumes and cover letters and interviews, although that is a big component of what we do. So if you are looking for help targeting your resume and cover letter, we can sit down and actually look at it in comparison to a job that you're applying for if you need some help with that. We can help you with interview skills and mock interviews. So we can schedule interviews based on interviews that you have coming up and customize questions towards that. Can also help you with your job search, coaching, and strategies. Today, we're going to talk about tips, but certainly in the future, during any point in your career journey, we can sit down with you and talk about things that you can be doing to be more successful. In addition to that, we can talk about labor market information and trends. So maybe you're looking for some information on knowing what the prospects are of your particular program or job area that you're interested in. We can talk to you about those things as well and give you some resources to look in terms of where to find that information. As we know, LinkedIn is evolving. Some of you said you use that as a job search strategy, so that's awesome. We know that it's evolving as a job search tool. And so we do a lot of speaking about profile advising and how to use your LinkedIn profile to your advantage. And then of course, we can share with you upcoming events and workshops and information about that, which we also post on our LinkedIn page. You can find us, the Algonquin College Employment Support Center. And also we have a number of virtual tools. So given that we're living in this sort of remote world, we want you to be able to have 24/7 access to some of our services. We do have Hire AC, which some of you mentioned as a job resource that you're already using, which is so great. This is a job posting board exclusive to you as an AC student and grad, which means that the people or the employers that are posting on here, they're looking for talented graduates from our school, which is so exciting. So always make sure that you're checking back on your job search using Hire AC. We also have the AC Career Platform. This is an online module with information about resumes, cover letters, job search. It's a bit more interactive than just sort of reading a textbook. There's some videos and some checklists and some samples. So really it gives you a lot of benefits and resources. And lastly, interview streams. So if you're really brave, you might want to use this tool, which is linked on our website, which is a video-based online tool where you actually record yourself and then you can review it. So there's prompted questions that come up. You answer them as if you're in an interview, and then you can review and see how you did. You can also book an appointment to review it with us if that's something you'd like to do as well, and we can give you feedback that way. It gives you a chance to see, how many times you're using and so, or like filler words. And it gives you the opportunity to see what your body language looks like on the screen. Given that we're in a world where virtual interviews are very much more common than they used to be, this is a really good tool to start using now. Awesome. So today is all about tips. We didn't want it to be complicated or long or exhaustive. We wanted it to be, short, sweet, to the point, to give you some practical, digestible tools and tips that you can use today, so that when you walk away from this presentation, you know where to start. So we know that you probably got a lot on your plate. It's the start of the year. Everybody's kind of settling in. It's a new world. And we just wanted to be able to do this in a way that was helpful to you. So Jess is going to kick this off with our first tip. And just a reminder, send your questions in the chat and we will answer those as we go.
So before you get started, Jess, we do have a question. Someone's wondering how they book an appointment.
Good question. So we have it on one of our end slides. It's through the Welcome Center, and they have an email address and a phone number that you can call. Maybe we will put it into the chat box at the end.
Great, thank you. And another student is wondering, how soon can they get help from the Employment Support Center? Can it be now, or do they have to wait till graduation?
Today, book an appointment today.
Start today.
Yeah, anytime.
Great. And then there is just one more question, and it is, do your services include helping with resumes? And is it free?
Yep. Yes and yes.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. That's it for questions for now. So we will get back to the presentation.
Okay. So our first tip for getting job ready is actually to take a step back and do a little bit of self-discovery and using resources to set a realistic goal for yourself. And before we jump in, we actually have a poll question because we're curious to see where you guys are at with your career journey. So our first question is, are you looking for a part-time job? And we're gonna pop up a poll on the screen there.
So a poll should have populated. I see lots of people answering it. Perfect. And we'll just give that a few seconds until the majority of people have answered. Almost there. Awesome. I see some comments coming into the chat. People looking for remote work, already have part-time jobs. Great. Okay, I'm going to give it 2 more seconds and then we'll share those results.
Okay, so it looks like most of you are looking for a part-time job, which is great. Hopefully you can take away some tips from today. And those of you that aren't currently working, maybe these are some tips you can take down the road whenever you do start looking for a job. Okay. So once you've decided like you're looking for a job, whether it's part-time, co-op, placement, summer, full-time, you want to take a little bit of time to sort of reflect on what you're looking for, what your goals are. And actually that involves assessing your own skills, your own interests, your values. So thinking about the kind of work that you would enjoy doing, if there's any skills that you've gained from previous employment or from school in the past, from extracurricular activities. You have to consider what kind of environment you want to work in. So is it in customer service and retail? Is it in food service? Is it working on a team? Is it working independently? Think about what kind of jobs you would want to perform in the future. The next step is to actually research the market. So does your goal fall within an area that's currently hiring? So if we're thinking about the pandemic, a lot of grocery stores are hiring, a lot of those emergency services are definitely hiring, working in healthcare, working in retail. We're also seeing that a lot of employers now, since we've been in this pandemic for over 6 months already, that they're starting to convert positions to virtual or remote working. So trying to understand where the jobs are in the market that you are pursuing, and looking at the prospects as well for your area. So if you are in a certain program and you'd like to find work in your program area, looking at what the prospects are in the future or where these kind of opportunities are. And we've linked here the Job Bank website, which is a really great tool for finding out this kind of information. And then finally, identifying targets or goals for yourself. So maybe setting up a weekly goal of applying to at least 5 jobs within your industry or within the area that you want to get into. And I do say 5, or I say a lower number, because what we're looking for is quality over quantity. So if you sent off 50 jobs using the same resume, and we'll get into resumes later, 50 of the same resume versus 5 really tailored resumes, you're going to have a lot more success with fewer applications that are more tailored and spend more quality time on.
All right, so into tip number 2.
Sorry,
This is
Lynn.
really about...
Sorry, Lindsay, just before we move on, we have
Yeah.
some questions about higher AC. So they kind of revolve around the same thing. So they're wondering if it's okay in their first year, is higher AC available to them? If they don't have a degree yet, is higher AC available to them? And is the college hiring remote part-time?
Yes, higher AC is available to you as a student of the college, so regardless of your background.
And is
Go ahead.
is the college hiring remote? I know that they are hiring peer tutors right now. Opportunities are popping up on our Higher AC platform. So I'd say to keep checking in for those kind of opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks so much, ladies. Let's move on to the next tip.
Awesome. So tip number 2 is about researching potential employers. So you might kind of go blindly into your job search, just looking at whatever comes up when it comes up, because you might not necessarily have some of those goals clarified. But we do find it really helpful if you know where you want to work and why you want to work there. It makes it easy to kind of develop an idea of what your strategy will be, and you can move forward in that way. So I'm going to launch another poll here. And that is asking, do you know what companies you want to work for? All right, get a few more responses in here. Okay. So it looks like a good number of you have an idea of some companies that you might want to work for, which is great. They might have to do with your job goal, or they might have to do with you gaining experience. Either way, having an idea is really going to help you progress in getting a job in the first place. And for those of you who haven't given it much thought yet, that's okay. This is the perfect time to start. Your research can start anytime, so it's perfect. All right, so you might wonder, how do I do this? Here's a good way to, how you can break it down. So the first step is making a target list of employers. Really simple. Get a notebook, get a pad, get a paper, make it on your computer, whatever is most convenient for you, and aim to write down at least 10 to 20 employers to start. This can, of course, grow over time. Perhaps you've talked to some friends, they're having a really positive experience at employers that they're working for. Maybe you're new to Canada, so you don't have as much familiarity, so you're going to have to do a bit more research. Look at small, medium, and large organizations. So don't stop yourself from any one organization, but research all of those types of companies. So the second point of this is researching those websites. So understanding the values and cultures of different companies, the hiring practices, the job requirements, and the opportunities that are actually available is going to guide you in who you're actually going to apply to. So having some time to understand the companies a little bit more by doing the background research, that's really going to help you determine whether or not those are places you'd want to work, but also if they're places that are currently hiring. And this could be hiring for jobs, but also looking for volunteers or interns or other opportunities where you can gain experience. Lastly, you can draw from a variety of resources. So, we have the lovely access to Google where we can just do a quick search of a specific industry to find names of employers. So if you're unfamiliar about types of employers or industries, or you're new to Canada, these types of strategies are very helpful. Just Google it like we do with everything else, right? And you can also look at things like business directories. So this could be, the yellow pages could be a good resource for going on and looking for smaller organizations. We could also look at things like the Book of Lists, which is produced by the Ottawa Business Journal every year, which lists companies in Ottawa by industry. We have the luxury, if you have a LinkedIn profile, to have a LinkedIn company directory where you can get a list of employers just at your fingertips, and looking at things like professional and local business associations. So if you're having trouble finding those employers or you want to make your list bigger or more robust, these are some strategies that you can use to do that.
Okay, so the next tip is related to your self-marketing tools. So specifically your resume and cover letter, how you can actually tailor these or customize them to make them stand out in an application pool. So like our other tips, we're going to start with a poll. And our question is, do you customize your resume for each job that you apply to?
Right, give it a few more seconds. People are still weighing in. All right. Let's take a look at the results.
Okay, so it's almost 50-50. More of you are changing your resume to each job, which is a really good strategy. I think historically it was more that you would just tailor the cover letter, but now it's expected that you tailor both the resume and cover letter to each position that you apply for. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. So whenever I say the word customize, what I mean is using the industry language and keywords from the type of position or role that you want to get into. So whenever you're writing out your cover letter and resume, it should typically match the requirements of the position that you're applying for. So if you're applying for, let's say, a customer service role, and they say that some of the qualifications they're looking for are communication skills, teamwork skills, being able to work in a fast-paced environment. These are all things that you should be including in both of your documents. If you're looking for something that's more similar to your career goals or to your program, there's actually some tools available to you from the school. So your program learning outcomes can be found on the program website, as well as each of the course outlines for each course you've taken. There's a list of learning outcomes that are essentially skills that you've gained through the program. These are really great keywords or points to put into your resume to make it more tailored to your field and more related to the type of position that you're applying for. Another really great tip for your resume is to actually showcase accomplishments. So instead of writing out every single thing you've ever done in each job that you've done, you want to highlight this sort of like accomplishments or great things that you did in each position, especially those that, again, relate to the position you're applying for. So to do this, you would use really strong action verbs, adjectives, and anytime you can, use different metrics. So highlighting, instead of just saying assisting customers, how many customers did you assist? Is it over a certain period of time? Is it over a certain number of months or weeks? Giving that extra metric or number adds value to what you're saying and gives more depth to show like the full extent of what you can do for an employer. And then finally, for your resume, paying attention to the details is so important. So making sure there's no spelling mistakes, grammar errors, and that you're using consistent formatting throughout. And I'll show you what that looks like. So this is a sort of sample resume that we've created. And you can see that throughout every section that they're kind of lining up, that we're using similar font sizes, that we're using similar headings, different underlining, or having our dates line up on the side. So you want your document to be fully professional and fully matching so that it's easy to find the information that you need. For this particular example, we can see that this is an administration student, an office administration student. And so all of the key words and points that are highlighted here are very related to that type of position or that field. So you can see that it highlights organization skills, communication, coordination, data entry. So each skill point is very tailored. We're not highlighting any skills that aren't really related to office admin. And then you can also notice that we're highlighting accomplishments, or that we would highlight accomplishments. So saying things like highlighting or exceeding sales target by 15% and met the objective set by management, including service quality index, sales conversion rate, average talk time, and number of calls answered. So that has so much more detail and value than just saying like assisted with sales.
Such great
right.
tips. Thank you so much, Lindsay and Jessica. We do have a question in the chat, and it's specifically related to the field of banking. But basically what the student is asking is, as a student with no previous experience in a certain type of field, is it possible to get a job in that field?
Yeah, it could be for sure. I think that what we would suggest is chatting about what your transferable skills are. So sometimes, even though we don't have the experience that we think we need in order to get a job, we've already developed skills through other experiences that we've had that might be applicable to a future job or a job that we don't have experience in. So I think, if that's something that you're looking at, we could help you customize or tailor your documents to reflect that in order to look for a job in a different industry that you have experience in.
Great, thank you so much. And there's another question wondering if a student books with the Employment Support Center, or do you share resume templates?
Yep, so we do have all of our templates are actually available online through our website under the online resource tab. So we can maybe put a link to that in the chat box, but all of our resume cover letter templates are available 24/7 to everybody.
Awesome, thank you so much. I think, there's one more that just popped in. So they're wondering specifically how to word putting a dean's list on a resume. And it was answered earlier that that's something that you should put on there. Do you have like a quick answer for how to word it, or is this something they should book with you to get more in depth?
I see the question there. Yeah. So they're asking if they made it on the dean's list the first year, or the first semester, but not the second semester. You can just indicate the year in which you made it onto the dean's list. So it might not be every year that you've attended school, but beside it, you could indicate the year in brackets, just so that you feel like you're being more accurate.
Awesome. Thanks so much, ladies. We're ready to move on to the next tip.
All right, tip number 4. So if there's anything that I would really want you to kind of take from this presentation, I think it's diversifying your job search methods. So when we asked the question earlier on in the presentation, how do you job search? I would say probably the majority of you answered like online or Indeed. There was a bit of variation with LinkedIn and things like that. But what we want to emphasize, or what the point we want to drive home today, is that you don't want to rely completely on those conventional methods of job searching just online, even though that seems like, well, we're living in a virtual world and that's the most convenient way to do it. And, there are so many other things that you could be doing in order to be more effective. And so if you've been job searching, or you've had the experience in the past where you've done a lot of job searching online and you haven't got a lot of results back, or it's been very quiet in your job search, we want to recommend you to do a number of other things to help boost your outcomes. So another poll question, I'm just gonna share that now. So what job search methods have you used in the past? And you can select multiple here. Great. Great. So I'm going to end the polling here and share the results. So everybody can see there that there's a number of people who said they used online job boards. So the majority is saying that they search for jobs online, although we do have quite a number of people that are also looking in person. Some people are going to job fairs and some people are networking. And a couple of you haven't had a job, and that's okay. It's good to start by learning the right ways to start this process through our presentation today. So I'm going to stop sharing that and we're going to keep going with this tip. All right. So let's talk about what methods you can use. All right. So let's absorb this quote a little bit. So at least 70%, if not 80% of jobs are not published. And yet most people, they're spending 70 or 80% of their time surfing the net versus getting out there, talking to employers, taking chances, and realizing that the vast majority of hiring is friends and acquaintances hiring other trusted friends and acquaintances. So let that sink in for a minute. It's really interesting to know that there's a lot of hiring and opportunities happening, but they're not always in the most obvious place. So we might think that the obvious place to look is online, and that's convenient for everybody, but everybody is also already doing that method and competing against each other in that way. And so what we're reflecting on through this quote is what we call the hidden job market. The hidden job market refers to the number of jobs or the amount of jobs that are actually not advertised. So because hiring and recruitment takes time and money, and it's a whole process, sometimes with the number of applicants, employers don't necessarily have the time to go through that recruitment process. So in a lot of cases, people are going to have more success when they're actually talking to friends or acquaintances or getting employee referrals into a position. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to break down some options for you. This quote is not to make you shy away from your online job search. It's just to encourage you to do more than just your online job search. So the effectiveness of your job search comes with using and doing a number of different things. So on the left-hand side, we're going to look at our online strategy. So this can include, of course, Hire AC. This can include job boards such as Indeed, or applying directly through company websites, or looking through LinkedIn, as a lot of you mentioned you were already doing as well. So definitely encourage LinkedIn as a new and evolving way to increase your effectiveness in your job search. And then professional association websites. So your online strategy, as you can see, is really grouped in a number of different ways you can do things online on different websites, and it's okay to continue doing these things. However, on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see your networking strategy. And this is really an opportunity for you to get out and meet people. You might be thinking, how am I supposed to do that in the middle of a global pandemic where I'm encouraged not to leave my house as often as possible? That's a very good point. Things have changed, things are changing, and it's good to be adaptable to the new world that we're living in. But you can still network, so that's great. Networking, just to give you an idea of what it is just about building mutually beneficial relationships with people. It's not this, we make it, I think, in the world of job search, a big scary concept, but it's definitely something we can do every day. It's almost just like meeting new people at school, right? When you have to meet new people that you've never met before, what do you say to them? How do you talk to them? So what we want you to do is think about who your personal and professional network is. So who are your friends? Who are your family friends? These could be people like your cousins. All of these people are tapped into jobs. Either they have jobs themselves or they know people who have jobs. And your professional network, which is those people in your network that are working. This could be, in the future, could be your professors. It could be your peers that get jobs after they graduate. It could be peers that get jobs while you're in school. And these are things we want you to think about, documenting who those networks are, and then, having conversations just about what kind of opportunities might be available as you move forward. So also an opportunity to network, get out there, go to events, get out there. By get out there, I mean, go to your couch, sit down, turn your computer on, look up events using things like Eventbrite or meetup.com, or websites that encourage you to go to a virtual gathering where you can interact with people. Even something like this, you get to see the questions of your peers, and you might connect with somebody on here through the chat. These are all good opportunities for you to be able to stay connected with people. Connecting informational interviews. So this concept of informational interviews, if you aren't familiar with it, is it's like a reverse interview. You decide to interview someone you're interested about in order to gain more information about a job, or valuable information that will help you apply to a job, for example. So it could be very short, a 15-minute meeting with somebody online or on the phone or in person if they're comfortable. And you would ask questions that are valuable to you. So you could say things like, I'm looking for work in this area. Do you have any contacts in that area? Or could you give me any advice on how you found a job in that particular organization? So you're asking for valuable advice, but you're not asking for a job, okay? And employers, in some cases, will see that as a really strong effort towards your interest and your engagement into an organization. Cold calling, I saw some questions about cold calling come through the chat. What is cold calling? Cold calling is when you call someone you don't know. That's why we call it cold contacting or cold calling, because you don't know them yet. So when we associate warmth with knowing someone or a relationship, cold calling is not that. So cold calling is really about contacting somebody you know and asking questions about opportunities that might be available. So for example, let's say you do just want a quick food services or retail job. One thing that you can do is contact the company by phone and ask them, are you currently hiring for any positions? And that's kind of how a cold call would look. We can coach you through all of these strategies too if you're looking for more information on that. Then using social media websites, so LinkedIn, there's no better professional networking site than LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, we would suggest that you create one and use it wisely. So this means that you're not just going on there or having a profile, but you're actually infusing or nurturing your profile by commenting and sharing and liking and posting. Just like Facebook, you are more visible when you're more active on that platform. So by being active, you're going to get more contacts reaching out to you to connect. And then of course, getting involved. So through participating in things like applied research projects or work integrated learning or co-ops that might be attached to your program or volunteering opportunities. These are all good ways to meet people who eventually will become part of your professional network, but currently in your personal network are still accessible or attached to different job opportunities. So having conversations through all of these strategies can be really helpful for you moving forward. I saw also just Facebook groups being mentioned a lot. That's also a great way to interact with different people as well.
Those are some great tips. Thank you so much. We do have 2 questions in the chat going back to job fairs. This is a new term for some students who haven't heard of this or haven't been to one. Are you able just to quickly share what the purpose of a job fair is and how this looks? And then the second question related to this is the Employment Center going to be hosting a virtual job fair this year?
Great. Yeah, so job fairs are like a gathering of employers in traditional terms. Before we switched over to this online world, job fairs are a collection of employers that come together in one place, and they would be offering information about their companies, and in many cases, they would be recruiting for positions. So students and graduates would be able to come to what we would call this job fair, walk around and talk to employers, and it's usually set up in a booth type setting. So that's what a job fair or career fair would look like. And these can be small or big. It can be a lot of employers or not a lot of employers, but generally that's kind of what it looks like. I see a question too, just to complement that as I'm talking about it. What should I bring to a job fair? Which is a great question. What you should bring to a job fair, obviously dress professionally is the first thing, and you can bring like a folder with your resumes in it. Try not to bring too much stuff so that you have an opportunity to interact with somebody face to face. In the opposite side of the job fair realm, and not the physical side, but the online side, there are employers and organizations doing job fairs online. So you will see things that are advertised for that through our events calendar on Hire AC, so through the community. As for the Employment Support Center, we'll be hosting mostly employer information sessions, which will be listed on the events calendar for Hire AC as well. So you'll be able to see those coming up through September and October. And we'd encourage you to register for anything that you're interested in, but they'll mostly be like one employer offering information for a specific industry, but we'll have a couple different industries.
Great, thank you so much. And there was a comment by an international student who said they find networking slightly more difficult. Is there somewhere on campus where they can go to get additional support as an international student?
I mean, you can certainly come to the ESC, the Employment Support Center, to get networking coaching through Jessica and I, and we can provide you with some strategy that might help build your confidence. But the International Education Center also offers a lot of workshops and can be very good at helping you kind of first develop some of your communication skills and just get you out there to start. So you could join a lot of the programming that the International Education Center has if you want exposure to some events where you get to interact with your peers, and also come see us.
Great, thank you so much. And there is one more question related to networking job fairs. If you're in a program such as graphic design, should your portfolio be something that you bring with you?
Good question. Typically in a job fair setting, in person anyways, it's very crowded. There's a lot of people lining up, so it might be challenging to bring out your portfolio. Having said that, like having it with you just in case is a good idea. And then also, like if you do have a portfolio that's online or virtual, putting the URL onto your resume so that the employer can at least look at it at a later time if they want to see more examples of your work, of your experience.
Thank you so much. I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, so our final and last tip is about your interview skills. So you've spent all this time researching employers, customizing your resume and cover letter, and you've applied to a bunch of jobs, and now they want to meet for an interview. So being prepared for the interview is essential to making your first good impression, being able to give stories and anecdotes to back up your experience, and to be able to highlight the relevant skills that the employer might be looking for. So our last poll, we want to know if anybody has heard of the STAR technique, specifically if you know what the STAR stands for. So STAR, what does that stand for?
Take your best guess.
Best guess.
I see someone said, sorry, I Googled it in the chat. That's fair. We're never
Lindsay's
against
honest.
Googling things, no. Great. Okay, we'll end the polling there.
Okay, yeah, so STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. So it was the most selected answer, which is great. For everybody else, we're gonna kind of highlight what each of these letters stand for and why it's really helpful to use this formula whenever you're crafting your answers. So no worries if you didn't know already, you will know by the end of today. Okay. So there's different ways to be successful in an interview in 3 different stages. So before you even get to the interview, making sure that you confirm all the details. So confirming obviously the time and the place. So if it's not in person, then is it by phone? Is it through a specific phone number? Is it virtual? So are you using a certain platform like Zoom or Skype, MS Teams? So making sure that you confirm all these details and making sure that if it is virtual, that you have downloaded the software, that you've tested the software, made sure that everything is working okay before the actual interview starts. It's also a really great practice to actually review the job description. So hopefully, whenever you're job searching for positions, you are saving all of the job postings that you apply to, so that whenever you actually get an interview, you're going to know what details you need to highlight in your interview. So like I said at the beginning, if they're looking for communication skills, if they're looking for time management skills, then it's pretty highly likely that they will ask you questions related to the skills that they ask for in the job posting. So they might ask you about a time when you had to manage multiple priorities, when you had to communicate with others, when you had to work in a team. So by looking at the job description, you can anticipate questions that you might get asked and prepare ahead of time some examples or stories that you could bring up to prove that you have these skills. Another great practice is to actually research the company. So hopefully you were already researching the position or the company when you were applying, but it's especially important whenever you go into an interview. It is because it's very common for an employer to ask you, why do you want to work for us? What do you know about our company? So being able to fall back on your research of their history, of their values, their mission statement, demonstrates to the employer that you are in fact really interested in working for them, and you can see how you would be a good fit for them, and how you align with what they offer, what their values are. And then finally, before the interview, once you're actually in the interview, then there's some other things we could do to be successful. So making a good first impression is so important. A lot of times interviewers will make up their mind or make a decision about you within the first couple minutes of the interview. So typically in person, that would mean shaking their hand. But now in a virtual world, it would just mean maintaining eye contact. So on a camera, it would mean looking directly at your camera rather than looking at them on the screen. Making sure that you're dressed professionally. So even though they only see really from here up of your body, making sure that you're fully dressed in professional attire. So that could be wearing like a blazer, a nice top or blouse, making sure that your hair is done, that you're wearing neutral makeup if you're a girl, and then maintaining positive attitudes. So being enthusiastic, showing your enthusiasm and excitement for the position. And then finally, like we mentioned earlier, using the STAR technique. So whenever you're answering questions, typically behavioral questions, which is when an employer will ask you for a specific situation from the past. So it usually starts off with, tell me about a time when, and then they'll ask you about any of the skills, but they want a specific example from your past when you demonstrated a skill. So using the STAR technique, you can sort of answer this question and organize your thoughts into a well-delivered example. So starting with S, this is the situation or the context. So where were you? What position was it? Who was there? Then the task. So what was the problem? That's T. What was the problem, or what was the action that was required? And then you actually give the actions, that's A, that you completed to solve the problem, to complete the task. And then always ending with the R, final result, and making sure it's a positive one. So I'll give you a really quick example. I keep falling back to retail, but let's say you had to give an example of a time you had to deal with a very unhappy customer. The situation was the customer came in, you were working at the front desk or as a cashier. They were super unhappy with the product they got and they were very upset. So the task was, I needed to calm them down and see how that I could help them to be happy. So the action you took was you listened attentively, you didn't take it personally, you listened to what they had to say, you told them what you could do for them. Maybe you checked with your manager to see if there was another product you could offer. And then the final result was that you gave them a similar product of equal value. They left super happy. Your manager said you dealt with the situation beautifully, and everybody was happy at the end. So you always want to choose an example that has a really good ending to it. And then finally, after the interview, it's always a good practice to send a timely thank you letter or thank you email. So just thanking them for their time and consideration. If there's something you missed out on in the interview that you wanted to highlight, you could also take that time to highlight it or to share a portfolio or example. And even if they don't necessarily hire you, you're at least keeping that positive interaction going so that potentially in the future, maybe there's another opportunity that comes up, or they could potentially refer you to another position in a different department or a different company. And then also actually taking a bit of time to self-reflect. So thinking about what went really well in the interview and maybe some things that didn't go so well that you could work on for future interviews.
That was great, Jessica. Thank you so much. I just want to flag that it is 11 o'clock. So if there are any students that have a program orientation or that have signed up for another event and have to head out, we will continue with the rest of the session, and the recording will be posted on the algonquincollege.com/orientation website by the end of the week. So if you're able to stay with us, that's awesome. We hope you continue to ask a bunch of great questions and stay, but if not, you can find the resources online after. Thanks, everyone. We'll get back to the presentation.
So that was our last tip. So in terms of next steps, like Leanne said, we want to thank you guys all for coming. If you do have any individual questions about your own career journey, or if you want to meet with Lindsay or myself, we are happy to do that. And we can help you with your resume and cover letter or any of your tools. We could maybe do a bit of job searching or strategizing around how to network or find that next opportunity, or work on your interview. And we have one last poll for you. And it's, what are your next steps in your career journey? What are you going to do after today's presentation? A little bias.
Awesome. Almost there. Okay, it looks like everyone's done.
Okay, great. So everybody will be coming to see us at Employment Support Center. Some of you for your resume, some for job search, some for interview skills. That's great. So yeah, so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We're going to stick around even after 11 o'clock.
For those looking to schedule an appointment by email, you can email at employment@algonquincollege.com. And the Welcome Center, who is our administrative support team, will be happy to book you an appointment through that email address. And you can find all the tools and resources we spoke about today on our website, which is listed on this slide as well, algonquincollege.com/employment.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to Lindsay and to Jessica. This has been a great session. And on behalf of Algonquin College, we want to give all of our AC students a huge thank you for participating in AC Day 1. If you are interested in rewatching this recording, it's going to be added to the algonquincollege.com/orientation website before the end of the week. Thank you again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.